Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. This episode of Everyone Loves Guitar is brought to you by Taylor Guitars and their new Grand Pacific Round Shoulder Dreadnought. Powered by Taylor's breakthrough V-Class bracing system, the Grand Pacific gives you a warm, seasoned sound with clear low-end power and notes that are stronger, longer sustaining, and more in tune with each other all the way up the fretboard. Make sure you check it out online at taylorguitars.com, then go out and play one today. That's the new Grand Pacific at taylorguitars.com. Did you know if your instrument or any of your gear is damaged, broken, or stolen outside your home, your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover any of it? That's right. Homeowner's insurance only pays if something happens inside your home. But Music Pro Insurance insures all your music gear, no matter where it is, anywhere in the world, even when you check it in as baggage on an airline. Here, let me give you some examples. Let's say you're in a car accident and your equipment is damaged, you're covered. Your kid pours apple juice into your amplifier, covered. Someone spills beer all over your pedal board at a gig somewhere across the world, boom, you're covered. Any kind of theft or accidental damage is covered, even water damage from hurricanes and breakage from earthquakes. But here's what makes Music Pro really different. They're not going to argue with you over the value of your instrument or make you run around looking for receipts when it comes time to paying your claim. They know exactly why your vintage instrument is worth 10 times more than a new one. Plus, all claims are typically paid and fully settled in 24 to 48 hours. So if your equipment is not insured properly, go to musicproinsurance.com, hit standard, then enter your information and get a free gear protection estimate. Don't be that player who ignores this, and then next month when something happens, you're wondering why you didn't take 10 minutes to do this properly. Make sure you go to musicproinsurance.com, enter your information, and get a free gear protection estimate. If something happens, you will be thanking me. Trust me on this. musicproinsurance.com. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, and I'm really happy. Today's one of those days where I've got one of my favorite musicians on, and a great guitar player, just a guy who writes some really, really great songs. We're with Jason Simon, who's a solo artist, but he's really primarily known as the founder and guitar player from the band Dead Meadow. They are musically, I guess you'd call them heavy psychedelic. To me, it's like if, I don't know, David Gilmour and Ozzy Osbourne had a baby or something like that. But it's great music. On his solo outings, he really brings together haunting strains of old American folk with cosmic psychedelia for songs of droning banjo, strangeness, and a warm, warbling guitar. Solo releases, he's got two. So, Jason, you have two or three? I think you have three, right?
There's a self-titled one called Jason Simon, another one under Jason Simon called Familiar Haunts, and there's two other releases that are, aside from Dead Meadow, kind of solo, kind of a band, one called Old Testament. And one called Old Testament, and one called Old Mexico.
What's the deal with the old? Is that like related? Is there a
I mean, I think I kind of like the Old Mexico. Old Testament came because it was really going for that old time sort of basement tapes type old Americana with that. And I kind of always have dug the pure strangeness of the Old Testament, these bizarre tales of wrathful deity and whatnot. So it kind of was going for something along that, like an old time folk, and there was a certain boldness to calling it Old Testament.
Yeah, man, that's very cool. And in 2018, Jason's going to release something totally new. It's a cross between, that was it. Old Mexico was a spiritual jazz of Pharaoh Sanders. Yeah, sorry about that, man. All righty. And again, to me, Dead Meadow is like the perfect blend of my most favorite music, Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath kind of meets 60s psychedelic garage rock. Really great long songs with spacey jams. And I was curious, how'd you start playing like this style of music? What was your motivation to create this?
I think it had a lot to do with time and place. We grew up, the bass player and I, around Washington, D.C. We grew up as fans of the DC punk scene, all these great bands like Fugazi, Nation Ulysses, and Circus Lupus, and had kind of come up in we had all listened to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and bands like that when we first started playing, probably in middle school. But we were so engulfed in that scene, and as it got to be more towards the late '90s, I feel like there's just been so much of it, this angular, harsh post-punk type thing, and I don't know. We were all stoners and started watching old Jimi Hendrix videos, started watching old Black Sabbath videos. And I think at the time a lot of it was like, man, let's just freak out these people in DC, man. We should just get back to doing like long, like heavy jams, real tripped out psychedelic jams, and an idea to kind of be heavy, but not to be metal at all, to like take it back to as if all this heavy metal didn't happen, so we can be like, oh yeah, let's be heavy in the way like the first two Black Led Zeppelin, just heavy rock. And it really was the antithesis of everything going on around us. So it was kind of a way to just be like, oh, let's just do the farthest out thing, kind of a punk rock move in itself of the time.
Yeah, yeah. So you did an alternative to the alternative.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to freak people out a little bit. Like people were like, DC is going to freak out, and it's funny because a lot of the first people that became really supportive once bands like that took us on tour, and the bass player put out the first two records. So they were really helpful in the early days.
That's excellent, man.
Yeah, I remember playing shows with Fugazi that one, and some of their fans, seeing these long wah-wah driven fuzz guitar solos, where we're not having it, and we're yelling Black Sabbath, like playing Black Sabbath like as an insult, but to us we were like, oh sweet, we're doing it right,
How long did it take till like you started getting a vibe where, people are like, man, this is good stuff?
Yeah, I think when we did that first record, we really, when we started putting these songs together and started playing and started hearing it recorded, we were like, wow, ourselves, like, this is cool stuff. I think this is something that like is getting what we're trying to do, but not completely retro or sounds like a copy of anything. So, yeah, I was pretty excited with the people, that other people thought the same, but I think we were just really behind it. And we were like, wow, this is kind of the music. We worked so hard on that first record. We worked hard on all the records, but just from the cover, from sitting in bedrooms, working out these riffs and whatnot. So I think we were proud of it, and we didn't know what people would think. So I'm glad they did dig it.
Did you, I read somewhere that your first record, which for people listening, it's called Dead Meadow, the name of the band, and it's killer. 2000 it came out. Was that recorded really in your parents' basement?
Yeah, entirely recorded in my parents' basement. That's where we always practice. That's where I practiced since high school and with different punk bands. And, I think with earlier bands, we had gone to studios, and not being too knowledgeable on recording techniques, a lot of times we came out of the studio with something that we weren't really happy with or sure what happened. And for this, we just really wanted to not lose the rawness. Like, maybe if we just do it ourselves, at least no matter what, at least it will sound raw, it'll sound real. And a friend of ours, a guy named Shelby Cinca, brought over his ADAT machine, which is kind of a obsolete technology now. I don't know if you know it. It was an 8-track. It uses almost like video cassette type.
Yeah, I know them from interviewing all the players that have used them over the years.
Yeah, they're not a respected way to record, But a lot of people are astounded when they were like, "That was on ADAT," But yeah, he just set up outside the door of our little jam room, and we played all those songs live. I think I added a few overdubs here and there, and then did the vocals after. But the record's almost entirely just live in my friend's basement.
Your all the mixes on these are really good. Who do you have like a mixing engineer, or you do that?
We've gone through different people. I think it's Steve and I. Steve, the bass player, has been really my partner in this band, and even before that, so we've been playing with him for about 25 years. But
holy crap, that's a great relationship, man.
Yeah. But we really both, kind of know what we want and strive for what we want. It's funny, some of the ones that are actually the better sounding ones are off. Technically better sounding are some of the ones that I find harder to listen to. I like the ones that we had more a hand in, even if they have a certain strangeness to the mix. But we've gotten better, and Steve's gotten really good. The last Dead Meadow record, The Nothing They Need, was entirely recorded and mixed by us.
That's great. Well, I'm just looking through your records here and through my iTunes. All of them are like almost, for me anyway, like almost all 5-star records. The sound is great, the vibe is great, and the the music is really cool. It's hard to not repeat. Your catalog is pretty big.
Yeah, at this point it's crazy. I know we talk about that, how many songs. It is hard not to repeat yourself. And
yeah,
a lot on this new record, because we really, with this new record, we wanted to really try to make like a one LP, like a 40-something minute classic sounding Dead Meadow record. Like, as heavy as we can make it now. I know our tastes have all moved to a little away from riff driven stuff. We really wanted to get back to something like that. But yeah, that was a trick. Like, how can we push this in a new way? Or you start playing stuff and you'd be like, oh, it sounds like this other song we did. You start ripping off yourself after a certain time. Well,
and your catalog is so big, you probably don't even remember half the, it's hard to keep, on top of all that stuff.
Definitely. I know, it's funny. The songs I like listening to are the ones because I don't remember them. There's a few that I don't remember playing. Those are the ones that I can actually listen to.
Yeah. The group was also invited to record for John Peel, which is always but where was that done? That wasn't done
that came about real early on after our first record. He had heard it somehow and I think got into it because there wasn't anything else around, in 1999 that really sounded like that. Mm-hmm. And hit us up like, when are you guys going to be in England? But we were figuring out how to book shows around the U.S. at that time. It wasn't really planned. It was cool because we worked it out. We actually recorded that in the Fugazi practice space where Guy, they had their studio, like 8-track reel-to-reel set up there for. So we recorded it all in D.C. and we tried to, in the spirit of the Peel session, just did these live versions of the songs.
Yeah, and you have him cutting in there and introducing it and everything.
Yeah, when we finally heard it, he kind of acts like we were actually there. He's like, "Today in the studio, Dead Meadow."
Yeah, that was really cool. I like that.
Yeah. When we released that, we wanted to have make sure his voice was on it. Such an honor to be on the show.
Oh God, yeah, that's a huge. I remember I got Pink Floyd bootlegs, Robin Trower stuff.
Yeah, Hendrix. The guy's a legend.
It's funny. The movement in sort of the psychedelic / stoner arena to have a lot of kind of like movie clips inserted, like obscure movie clips. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
At various points in the song. I like that. And it's, it's cool, especially when it's an obscure clip, but it it's obscure, but it's somehow the musically or the cadence is related to the song. I think that's really cool when people do that. And that's what that reminded me of with Peel. He was doing the intro. It was just something nostalgic about the way it was done.
Oh, I know. Just hearing his voice for sure.
So you started your own record label. I hope I don't butcher this name up, Jason. Carlisi?
Carlisi, yeah. We've done our own records. Steve, the bass player, also runs a record label that was around before us, but now he's kind of the main president, I should say. He runs it, But after we were on Matador for 3 records, which was really cool. But after that, when we split with them, for people to put out our records, all the labels that were interested weren't of a size that warranted giving away the record, So now it works for us ourselves because I think Dead Meadow's built up a name enough that what we sell and who we reach is kind of already there.
Right.
So now, especially on today's climate of people not really buying records. It works out better, that we can, whatever we sell comes directly to us.
Yeah.
So but then I started my own little label called Tekalili, and that's actually based on.
What's that name from, dude? I never ask about names because it's too conventional. But what is that?
First comes up in a Edgar Allan Poe story called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym.
Okay.
Which is a cool, almost novel-like story where dealing with Antarctica, and as he sails down towards Antarctica, it actually gets warmer, and they're past the ice, and there's these strange islands and these giant pallid white birds that scream Tekalili, Tekalili, and then H.P. Lovecraft kind of used it too in his story At the Mountains of Madness about the penguins. That's another Antarctica story. And then even Robert Anton Wilson, if you know him, he wrote like a Cosmic Trigger and Illuminatus trilogy, kind of a counterculture figure. He even used it in, and it's kind of this thing it's referenced here and there. No one really knows where Poe got this word from, but I kind of like how it's passed through all these writers.
It's very cool. So has it been like an upside to running your own label? And do you think, like, is this something that you're ever going to put other artists on? Yeah,
I put one other artist on, a friend of mine, Trans Van Santos, because I think he's great. I put his record out. He's actually in that project, Old Mexico, with me.
Okay.
He writes a couple songs for that record. So I'd like to, but I don't know if I'll do too much because I'm not really too into the business or the promoting side of it. It's just been easy for me I feel like it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna sell what I sell. If I make 500 records, I know they'll sell, and I can just do that on my own, and the money will come back, and I can use it to do another one.
Sure, I totally get it, man. When you do your solo stuff, right? Like, so you've done 3 solo records.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get out of the solo stuff that you don't get, either musically or emotionally, that you don't get out of Dead Meadow? I'm not saying that like they're deficient because you're not getting it, but you obviously get different things out of different experiences.
Yeah, well, at this point, when a lot of times I just write songs, and if I can use them for Dead Meadow, or I'll try to see if they can work, and if they don't, a lot of times I still like these songs, and I think what I get a lot is that at this point, Dead Meadow has a history and has like a certain weight behind it of what Dead Meadow is, or what Dead Meadow traditionally sounds like.
Okay.
And I dig not having that, to be like, oh man, okay, now I'm going to go off and play this Appalachian sounding banjo song. Or, oh, this is a really acoustic song. Or the whole side of this, I'm working on a new record. There's a bunch of, strange, almost dubbed out drum machine type tracks and stuff like that. So I feel like just being able to go off in different directions and not have the weight of like, wow, Dead Meadow's really taking a turn this way. You can still keep Dead Meadow what it is in a certain,
I think that's really cool. So like you'll say, this is not a Dead Meadow song, but I like it. And then you do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Man.
And they're all just kind of Jason Simon songs until I bring it to Steve and Mark, who's the original drummer, is back playing with us now. And then it always changes once I start playing with them. And then it'll become, a full Dead Meadow thing. But there's other things I bring them that we all jam on that doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. And so, a lot of those become songs that I'll do other things with, or it's just fun playing with other people.
That's really cool.
Or recording yourself, just odds and ends and different stuff.
On your solo stuff, do you play all the instruments?
Depends on the song. I think on the last record, there's some of the songs that I did that are kind of home, bizarre studio creations, and other ones with people. And and I kind of like that. The new solo record I'm working on too will be like that, where it's a little bit mismatched. There's like a couple songs from me at home, other ones I did at this studio with this drummer, but I never really mind records like that. Like, I'm a big fan of Keith Hudson, the Jamaican dub guy, and his records always sound like that to me. Like, it sounds like he got this one track from this studio, and then he went over here and got this backing track and added vocals to it. But I kind of like a certain of that haphazard mismatch.
That's good, man. And you have this is maybe an odd question. I noticed the word Hawks is like a title in more than one song. Is there any like affinity with Hawks that you have, or?
I guess maybe the word just sounds good. I know I end up using hollow in a lot of songs too, or I'm not sure if I just kind of stumble on it subconsciously, but I guess there's such hawks, such hounds here with the hawk.
Yeah. And
it just came from lines in that song that we ended up being like, that's the title, that line's cool. That kind of rings out and makes me interested. So let's use that as the title.
Was there, like you just mentioned, Such Hawks, Such Hounds? That's from Feathers in 2005. Wasn't there supposed to be? I remember.
There is a movie.
Okay.
Such Hounds, and it's made by a guy John Serbalis, and it's kind of it's come out in the early 2000s, but a chronicle of kind of like the underground stoner and heavy psych scene. So it has interviews with Dead Meadow, and I don't think Sleep was back together, but it talks to Matt Pike and Al Cisneros, and not sure, and Wino from The Obsessed. It talks to a lot of in this on that underground heavy scene of like heavy stoner psych. So it's a cool documentary, and it's nice. It's kind of cool they used the Dead Meadow song as the name. Yeah,
where can you find that? Because man, I have like a list of movies that come up on my thing to look at periodically, and I've never seen it.
I don't know. It has to be online or YouTube. I mean, I can't imagine.
That's what it is. I got to look at YouTube because I always go to look at Netflix or Amazon Prime, but you're probably right. I need to just go look at YouTube.
Yeah, try YouTube. It has to be up there. I can't imagine anything in this world that's not at this point.
Dude, I've literally been looking for that like for 10 years. And every 3 or 4 months it comes up on my list like of stuff to do with movies. I
got a DVD of it. I know. I remember seeing the premiere in a theater in LA, which was pretty cool.
That is cool.
That was a while ago.
In 2013, you used that word warble in your bio, but you have an album called Warble Womb. And then there's a song called Warble Womb 2, where you got like this freaky deep voice in there. Where does that come from, man?
Yeah, I think there's Warble Womb and Warble Womb 2. I think that was Mark that did that. We're just we're all big fans of everything, but we listen to a lot of Outkast and hip hop records, and kind of had these weird interludes, and then we had just done this instrumental track, and we were kind of like, oh, that would be cool to have like, some kind of funkadelic-esque talking over it. We pitched down the voice and just having fun with it. It's funny, that record, because it really wasn't heavy in a riff way that I think some of the earlier records was, or less heavy. And, we never think of it. We just think of it all as Dead Meadow. And it's funny when Dead Meadow records come out, I feel like a lot of times we get these, drastic change for Dead Meadow. And for us, we're like, what? But we did get a little of that. Like, I think some of the heavier fans weren't sure of it. Oh, it's always that way with Dead Meadow records. And then 2 years after it comes out, I start getting messages of like, oh man, I can't stop listening to Warble Womb. So,
isn't it weird, like in general, how much other people are like preoccupied with stuff, like with your stuff in this case? Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, but I feel like it's always been cool with Dead Meadow because we've pulled such like an eclectic bunch of fans, that seem to just really like the band, that a lot of times are from different scenes, that are from different worlds, and so it's just amazing. Like they said with the first record, that you just try to make something that you think is cool and that you work on with your friends, and you try to make something that you dig, and then you put it out there. And it's just so cool that when people respond to it, and people feel it in whatever way they do,
Yeah, man. Well, I've been listening to your music for maybe almost as long as that first record came out. So I mean, you have done a lot moving me emotionally. So thank you, man.
Man, yeah, that's what it's about. It's so cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about that in a sense. What would you say over your career, because you've been doing this a long time? What would be maybe your top 3 experiences you've had musically for any reason at all?
I think definitely first was just getting Dead Meadow together and playing with Steve and Mark and being like all of a sudden like, oh wow, we got like a sound here, or realizing that like the 3 of us together, that doesn't sound like a Black Sabbath retro ripoff or some bad copy, that we kind of could do something new with all of our influences, just getting that together was just amazing, and then I don't know, I'm trying to think of the other ones. I'm really proud of the last Dead Meadow record too, that we did it all ourselves, and we actually brought back everyone that had been in the band here. As soon as all 3 and we actually brought back Corey for a song who played second guitar on Feathers. He's a good friend of mine. They work out having me in the band, but I always love that record because of the 2 guitars.
And that's, you're talking about the Nothing They Need.
Yeah. So I think that one is definitely a highlight too. I think it really like brought it back, and I'm really proud of that record. And then one more. I don't know. It's just amazing that it's still going, that we're still playing.
It really is, man. That's a pretty major. I mean, seriously, congratulations. It's almost, you're coming up on 20 years, man.
Yeah, I know. Especially when you think about the Beatles, or like say like the 13th Floor Elevator, some of my favorite bands. That band was around for a year and a half and did so much. Or the Beatles are around for what, 7-8 years?
Well, especially, man, you've gone through an incredibly difficult musical transition with the whole business.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing that you started out at one period and the business looks, nothing like it did in those first couple of records, probably.
It is crazy. I know we did, because with Signed to Matador in 2002 or 3, whenever that was, there was still somewhat of a record industry, so it was still under the model of like, we're going to give you an advance, we're going to own the masters, we're going to pay for the recording and do all this stuff, which is just not the way it is nowadays. Now, with these labels, it's like, send us the record, we'll see when it's done, we'll see if we like it,
Well, yeah, then they look at how many followers you have on social media and make a decision whether they're going to put it out.
Yeah, it actually really kind of made me a little mad when these bands were posting on their accounts like this 2018 rap that Spotify was sending bands, and it says Spotify thanking you for a great year and showing how many streams and how many fans you have, and they're posting these things like badges of honor, like look how good we did, and and I'm like, you realize that this company is making money off you and paying you nothing.
Yeah.
Not that I think there's good sides to the streaming and the fact that there's Dead Meadow fans in Indonesia now because of it's on the internet, but still, just the model of it, that they should pay more, that bands don't even realize that they're just happy to get these streams, where it's like, you used to actually get paid for your creative work when you had that many people listening to it.
I agree with you. It's terrible. And the problem is we live in a world where, because these, the millennials, I guess, not to pick on them, although I kind of like to because I'm old enough that I can, but they've grown up in a world where things are measured by how many likes you have.
Yeah, exactly. And they think that's what it's about, but you don't realize it used to be like...
That's not a fucking currency, man. You can't buy groceries with that.
Oh, I know. You had a month. Yeah, talk about that a lot with Steve, how it's like almost gone back to a kind of like 1930s vibe, when you think about these old blues musicians that would go in and record a record, and then they would never expect to be like, cool, I'm going to get big on this record. It was just like, now, like, look, this record's getting around, people are going to be at my shows now, they're going to give me money when they see me play, and we just like we travel from town to town and we're just like hawking our wares, like being like, okay, cool, let's get to this town, see what we can do. We definitely have to sell, selling t-shirts, selling vinyl, selling everything there, but like traveling, vaudeville salesman or something,
well,
it ends me. Not that it's bad, because we love touring. I mean, that's why we still do it. We love playing, but
no, but it's changed. You have to be responsible. In the old days, the label, quote unquote, was responsible for the business end of what you do. You owned a business, but it was like you handled the operations, they handled the business. And
exactly.
Maybe they weren't handling it properly, but you didn't have to deal with it yourself. Now you've got to be the operations and the business, and it's a big change for most players I've talked to.
Yeah, I know. You have to be your own publicist too, and the amount of content. I think that was a deal with the name of that record, because Steve, the bass player, actually works in like QCs, like quality controls, like digital releases and whatnot. So the amount of content he just sees all the time. We were just like, man, and just the amount of content coming out, with these new shows and how much you need every day. Every day you need something for Instagram. We were just like, how much of this meaningless content can people take? Just
apparently quite a lot.
yeah, it's crazy.
I know, man, it is. Well, sometimes it is funny because you look on social media and some people are like nonstop. Like I would need a reminder to tell me, make sure you take a picture of every hour or whatever. Like, that's not something inherent in me, and nor would I want it. I'm just not into that. But yeah,
I see these bands on tour, and there's posting a new band photo of all them standing there every day. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess because we're older, but you can't get us all to stand in a line like ever. Luckily if we end a tour with one band photo, So I'm always just looking around, seeing like, I hope someone took a good picture of the show, because I should post, especially on tour. I just want to stay up on it a bit and make sure to post about,
we have to tomorrow.
But I'm always like, why do I even post, man? I need more content.
You just like probably take the same approach you do with music and just figure the stuff you wouldn't normally, maybe explore different stuff that you wouldn't normally do, because I don't know. I think unless you're 25 and under, it's not like there's a native skill they have that I certainly don't, man.
Yeah. But it's definitely a chore at this point, though it's cool because, it is nice you have a direct way to reach all these fans. So, good and bad and everything. But for me at this point, it's definitely a trouble. Like, oh man, oh shoot, this is coming up. I better get on and make some posts about that, figure out a poster or whatnot, or find the poster.
Oh, I hear you, man. Hey, so you said you grew up in DC. What was like your childhood like?
Suburbs of DC and Maryland. And came up listening to a lot, I didn't have any older siblings. My parents didn't really listen to music. So it's kind of a cool journey of discovery of just hearing stuff. You definitely went through all the, the 80s kind of Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses stuff until I finally found Iron Maiden. And that just ruled my world for a couple of years for sure. Still kind of does, Iron Maiden rules. And then from that, when grunge hit, I kind of briefly went through that and then realized all the music that was just right in DC, all the Discord, like punk-based music, coming out of Minor Threat and Fugazi and all that. And so that was so cool. And I think that really opened up a lot of like DIY vibes of like, cool, like in high school, like, okay, we have a band, let's go record, let's put out our own tape, And I think still carries a lot of that with us, and that like, oh, let's just do it. Why bring anyone else into this? Why have management? We'll just do this ourselves, keep it our own way, and control everything we can.
And I think that's great, actually, that aspect of it, because you're making music from your heart to put it in someone else's hands. It's like, maybe not always the best recipe.
Exactly. Well, and honestly, at this point, I've seen bands that do have management and stuff, and then Dead Meadow goes on tour, and financially we can do better because we just run such a small operation. We can do what we do. We can reach who we can, and it keeps growing. It keeps being new opportunities. We have booking agents and all that, but like just doing it that way, it means, or putting out our records itself. So it means that like the smaller business model, you can actually make it work in this age,
Which is wonderful, because that you can't, as nice as it is to play music, you got to eat, man.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You got to figure out how to keep playing music,
You said your folks weren't into music. What kind of work did they do?
My dad was a doctor. He's an infectious disease doctor.
Oh, wow.
Still is, actually. He's 72 now, so I should retire soon. But he loves it. He's very, super smart. But definitely very fact driven. My mom was a science teacher, so they're very much like science oriented. So I think that they're not fans. They're really supportive, but the creative aspect of music, of that, isn't something they understood as well. And but that being said, we practiced there always. They were still supportive of what I wanted to do, and I think eventually realized that okay, no use fighting it anymore. This is what he's doing.
But that's really unusual, because most of the time when you have like academics as parents, and even though your dad wasn't a teacher, your mom was, but he's still in an academic profession.
He teaches medical school, so he does teaching as well. Yeah,
but most of the time academics are not down to support music. They're very much, educational, scholastically driven. Yeah. I
think they were, but then they also, saw that it was something with like our friends, that we were doing something productive. We weren't out, like out running the streets, we were down there in the basement working on something together and being creative. So, I think they supported that. And then, and I think as it goes, it's been able to support myself doing it. They definitely have come to terms with it long ago.
That's great, man. That's really cool. It's funny. Is there like a bird outside your window or something?
Yeah, I'm actually at my friend's house right now in Austin, Texas. She and his daughter's room is the quietest room in the house.
That bird sounds great. There's a. What's that?
You may be able to even hear. He's got a pretty big Moog electronic setup. I think they're in the next room jamming on all the synths right now.
Oh, that I can't hear, which is good, because I didn't want it to cloud your thing. But the bird is cool in the background. Awesome. So what were some of the low points or obstacles that you've had to deal with throughout your life and your journey, and like how did you manage to get through them? It could be whatever you want to share: music related, business related, personal, whatever works for you.
I mean, I guess music related, just finally getting people to pay attention to coming with this band. There really wasn't even a scene, like a psychedelic scene. Now we have this psychedelic rock, and every town seems to have a psych fest. So there's really a scene that like fits our band. But when we started, we either played at a metal show or a punk show, and we kind of just out. We didn't really fit either, So in the early days, it was a lot of strange shows. just really not fitting, and and still having some people that knew about us come out, but really just believing in this is the music that we want to do, and just doing it and traveling, sleeping on floors and just going for it in that way. And I guess, I'm trying to think what else. Personally, I think starting I don't know, maybe 2001, 2002, I definitely went through like a number of years of drug use, and that just like getting all the way through that. That was probably 7 or 8 years before I totally came out the other side of that.
Wow.
So I think that actually was like kind of one of the hardest things, and I think I always, the whole time, in touring like that too, I think I always knew, and I always wanted to be like, oh man, I always have to keep playing music, or even if I didn't want to leave for a tour because a habit going, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to deal with this on the road, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to not be so sick I can't play. But I was like, man, if I don't go on tour, I'm just being a drug addict. Like, this is what I do. I play music. I have to do it. So at least I always had that drive, keep doing it and keep playing, because that was like the one thing that I was like, no, this is what I do. But yeah, it definitely made things tough for a number of years. Definitely drove my band crazy for sure.
Yeah, man. Did you like go to rehab? Did you go to a program or?
Yeah, I ended up. I had kicked so many times, and then but I think like kicking on the road, as soon as I got somewhere where I knew someone, you'd be like, all right, cool, man, I'm in LA, I figure this out. But eventually I took some time and actually went to the methadone clinic in DC, just because kind of gave you time to like reset your brain a little bit and get back to a normal style of living without dealing with all like the physical and mental kind of repercussions of not having anything in your system, not having any drug in there. And then, and that took like 2 years though of that. And even moved to LA with that, and touring with that, you'd have to take homes, you have to, and just that feeling too of like, ooh, I'm not losing this bag, putting that bag behind my amp, you know what I mean? Because I was like, oh, this tour's gonna be messed up if I lose all methadone, So it was a great feeling to finally be off that. But that's necessarily the best way to go at this point for someone trying, because it is long and there's a lot of kind of gnarly stuff with the whole methadone clinics. They kind of want you there because it's their business model, so they'll try to get you methadone. But in the end, it worked for me. And it's one of those things with people, you can't do anything. They really have to get to a point when they're done, or they want to be done with that kind of thing,
Oh, absolutely. And everybody's like journey is totally different in how they get off. Do you go to meetings now?
No, I've never been like an NA guy. I'm still like, I still smoke pot and drink, and we'll do psychedelics. I'm not like a totally off all substances. It's just, it's really just certain things, or just needing anything at all like that.
So you don't have anything controlling you at this point. Which sounds like that was the main, which is every addict's fucking main problem, somebody else is running your system. Well, good for you, man.
I think there was a lot to learn from it, and even like being an addict in that sense, I feel like it taught me a lot of different things, and a lot of things about how even the brain works, and how desire works, and how like the cycle, almost in a Buddhist sense of just even feeling a need will just lead to that need going and keeping and circling around. So it was cool, but I definitely think I learned a lot, and then still did drugs for another 5 years, before I got off of it. But it was, I wouldn't. It's just part of life, and I think even getting through that, you learn a lot. So it was. I wouldn't change it, but just glad to not be like that now.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm really happy that you're feeling much better about yourself, and you went through all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's been now that things are chill, and even the methadone clinic, I was on so little, it's basically done. It was just a matter of physically bringing it down and getting off it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. I'm really happy that everything's cool with you now. So this might be a good question to lead into. If you had to go back and give advice to your younger self, is there specific advice that you would have, assuming you would have listened?
I know, because that's the thing, because I feel like there was a lot of wasted time with that, which is my main problem with I feel like with drugs, or even like, I mean, I guess you could even say the same problem with TV and Netflix, like I would go back and be like, why are you playing video games for 2 years when you're 14? You know what I mean? Play guitar, to do something productive. It's just wasting time. And I feel like that, and the same with the drug use. Though, I mean, I think the drug use did help me learn a lot, and I did actually grow and understand some things, so yeah. I wouldn't change it, because it kind of made me who I am.
Yeah.
And taught me a lot, but I feel like there was a lot of time I could have spent. I think with younger people too, I feel like if you believe in it and you feel like you need to make music, I mean, it's not the easiest career to go into, but if you feel it, and I think like for us and for Steve and I, it was really a calling. Like when I met Steve in high school, he went to a high school in Virginia. We both kind of knew like, oh, we want to play music. It wasn't really a choice, So I feel like if you do have that thing where like, this is what I need to do, this is what I want to do, you just have to go for it and believe it and stay true to your own vision and don't get influenced by people telling you it should be this way or you should do it that way. Just do it your own way and stay true to that. And I think in time people come to respect that and you'll find your way.
I think almost in anything you should do that. Like, music, business, whatever, sewing, whatever the hell your thing is, man. I think I've coming out of the business world and I spent a lot of time doing a bunch of stuff that I wasn't, I kind of liked it, but it wasn't like, I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and do it. Yeah, that's not good.
No,
it's really not as rewarding as when you're doing something or working with people that you like on a regular basis. So, I agree with you 100%, man.
Totally. And even when you're doing that thing, I think like we were talking about the first Dead Meadow record, why we just did it in the basement. I think we were like, I don't want anyone, even if we don't know that much, I don't want anyone to tell me it should be this way. I don't want to be in a studio where they're going to do it some way that I don't understand. All of a sudden it doesn't sound like us, or it sounds like someone else put some input into it. It was really like, no, I want it to be like to capture all our idiosyncrasies and capture us just how we are, how we play, just so it's just really truly gets the vibe, of what we're doing.
It's amazing that you made that record almost 20 years ago because it's a great record. Like my favorite, my favorite track is Green Sky, Green Lake on there. Is that one of the more popular ones?
Instrumental. I know. It's really cool.
Great track. That one and the next one, Beyond the Fields We Know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really proud. Definitely feel like we just really captured such a cool mood on both those songs.
Hey, I want to talk about gear for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have what are your go-to guitars? Are you a one guitar guy or do you have like three or four?
Really am. Dead Meadow, it's been the same guitar for the whole time. And it's just like, that guitar just feels right, or it feels like nothing, it feels like, it just feels like I can do whatever. And that's a guitar I bought when I was 14. It's been pretty guitar. It's a like Tele Plus, which was something they did in the early 90s, and it's actually lace sensor. It has 2 lace sensor pickups.
Yep. And
I've looked it up recently, and people know it's also known, I guess, now as like the Johnny Green. I guess he was a big fan of these from Radiohead, from these early Tele Pluses. But I'm always happy when someone on the Guitar Threads will be like, "Oh yeah, and the guy from Dead Meadow uses one too."
Yeah, you've arrived.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So you're playing a Tele for all this.
Yeah, I mean it's a Tele, but it has like a humbucker, like a hotter lace sensor humbucker.
Okay, thank you.
And it's even a little bit of a hotter pickup. So the pickup was that lace sensor era that they were doing, pickups. And I think I've just played that guitar and just that's how when the band started. And it's just anything else. I'll use other guitars for if I have, just a bunch of Dead Meadow songs that are in different tunings. So I'll have like backup guitars, but that's pretty much the guitar that 95% of all Dead Meadow has been recorded on and played on. I
was so glad you said there's a humbucker because I didn't see any way that anything you play is single coil. It's like it's fat. It's a little muddy. I mean, I love it. It's great sound. Yeah.
I usually play it in the middle position, so I got both pickups, the humbucker and the neck pickup on, which is thicker than the little lipstick pickups too. The neck one is.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah. And that first record was all done on a quad reverb, like a Silverface quad reverb that I'd had, and it just I think I ran an extension cabinet out too, so we had 2 different speakers mic'd. But that thing, I still have it. And that thing is great because it's just so dirty. And I think a lot of it was like, I like using overdrives and fuzzes, but the amp has to be giving me some grit. I don't really I can't stand that pedal into a clean tone kind of thing. I definitely be getting a lot from the tube saturation, the speaker breakup and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm the same. I like that. I don't like the pedal into a clean amp. I like breakup. Okay, so you had a Silverface. What pedals do you use, like for fuzz, overdrive, and maybe wah?
I mean, I've stuck with this, for Dead Meadow, a lot of it's I've tried to move away, but since the first record, I always come back is like the old '90s Rat pedals. You know, they changed a little bit, early 2000s. The old ones, I think it's the LM304 or 308. There was a certain chip that changed that really makes a difference. For just like my basic like the distortion that I use for a lot of the riffs and stuff, it's a Rat pedal. Mm-hmm. And then back on the first record, I think I had like a modded out fuzz face, but I'm not sure what happened to that. So there's like I use big muffs.
Oh yeah, I love those.
Usually, and I always use it on top of the Rat. So I'll have the Rat on, but then when I really want to do like Sleepy Silver Door, some of those big riffs where it will just sustain forever, it'll be big muff. And then those are pretty much my main go-tos on fuzz. And a lot of it, a lot of the new record now, I've probably got enough that I bought an old 60s Blackface Deluxe.
Nice.
And a lot of the record is that I'll use an orange too. That orange kind of came probably by the second record. So then I was using a Fender and an orange, and that's kind of the main Dead Meadow combo. These days I have for touring, I have a twin. It's a reissued twin, but I've modded it out a little bit. So there's a switch on the back where I can ground lift two of the power tubes, which is nice. It knocks the twin back to basically half power, which means I can put it up twice as loud. So I can actually, sometimes it's hard to get a breakup on a twin because of how freaking loud they are. The twins on the planet sometimes are just blown. So it's cool this way with this half power. I can actually in any kind of smaller room, I can get it up to 5 or 6 without completely blowing everything away. Now, but have that good Fender sound where it kind of crumbles in on itself as it compresses a little as you get the amp to the right volume. And then I have an orange, and I used to use it's the late '90s, the AD140. Yeah, that kind of gives it a lot of its mid-range body. So it's just both 2 amps, especially being a 3-piece. Always having 2 amps going kind of makes the sound so much bigger.
It's funny. I've talked to a number of guys that are in the psych genre that use orange amps. Yeah, older oranges as well, like you.
Yeah, the older ones are great. And I should have bought one a while ago before they were like $3,000. So whenever I do use an older one, Mad Amp and stuff. And I feel because they came up a lot of them like Sabbath, a lot of that early heavy stuff. There was a lot of oranges involved, and I think they're great. I think I've never been really a Marshall fan, and oranges just kind of sound like this dark wood, all this dark mid range, and it's cool. If I'm using one amp or doing solo stuff, it's usually a Fender. Dead Meadow, it's always the Fender orange combo.
It's very cool, man. Do you have a favorite song that you wrote and why?
I don't know. I have a number of favorite songs. Song wise, I really like Outer Open Door off Feathers. Mm-hmm. I just like the words and and the chords. It's not really a riff heavy song. It's just but I've always been proud of that one. And even playing it over all these years, I'll be like, oh man, that's really cool. And there's usually a few on each record. Of course, on the first record, songs like you said, Green Sky, Beyond the Field, and Sleepy Silver Door. It's cool that after 20 years I can still play that riff and it doesn't drive me crazy.
That is cool, man, because you probably played it a couple thousand times or 1,000 times at this point.
Yeah, probably, because that song gets played every Dead Meadow show. We usually close out with it, so I start thinking about how many.
Which one?
It's the first song on the first record.
Sleepy Silver Door. That's funny, man. That's your finale at most shows.
Yeah, because it's just the way it opens up at the end, the jams, depending on the drummer, it's gone through so many different incarnations, or usually changes over each tour. We'll stumble on different things to do. So it'll go on and on, break down, get a drum solo, we'll come back, so it's kind of our Dazed and Confused sort of number where it just opens up.
Yeah, that's cool.
To get to that jam, that's kind of when as we come back out usually for encore, but that's kind of when cool, the show's over. And then see where this goes.
That's awesome, man. Desert Island, no, first record or CD? You probably bought CDs, right? Or were you buying? I don't know how old you are.
I started on cassettes.
Okay, so what was the first cassette you bought?
I think it was probably Thriller
by Michael Jackson. Interesting. That's a really common answer, actually.
Yeah, because I think at that point it just hit so hard. Now it's probably in first or second grade. So you're like, oh my God, Beat It. With Eddie Van Halen playing, and that song is just so immediate. I got really into around that time. I liked Rat. I think I bought Van Halen in 1984 was one of my first cassettes for sure.
That was a great record.
I got into Rat, that band,
Warren DeMartini. Yeah, I know those guys.
Yeah. And I like the Pet Shop Boys a lot too, though. I remember getting that.
Wow, that's two bands that aren't usually said in the same breath.
Yeah, totally. Still like the Pet Shop Boys, man. I love the first Pet Shop Boys record. The melodies and his vocal melodies are so cool.
So tell me your desert island discs, man. Top 3 or 4.
Oh, let's see. What would I need? I definitely. And man, I love the 13th Floor Elevators for a rock record. Easter Everywhere, the second 13th Floor rock Elevators record.
Right.
I think is amazing. Just lyrically, the guitar, the singing. Stacey Sutherland, the lead guitar player, I think is. And then let's see. Something. I'm a huge reggae fan, so I'd probably bring some Burning Spear. I love this. I love his singing. It reminds me of like Miles Davis playing trumpet or something.
He's pretty intense. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know what else. My tastes changed so much. But I'd probably need some John Coltrane too. I'm such a John Coltrane fan.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, that's kind of when jazz opened up for me too, because I really like modal music. I've learned over the years. I love Indian music. I love Ali Akbar Khan. I feel like with Dead Meadow, with jams, I get a lot from Indian music. And John Coltrane kind of stumbles on that, even with my favorite things.
Yes.
That famous. Because the bass player's almost sitting on one note the whole song, and he's just going off like in such a modal way, and that kind of thing always hits me. Or it's just like, let's just sit on this note and try to find this mood, raga style, and stay with this mood and try to build this mood in intensity, and keep the intensity growing.
Did you study music formally?
No, I didn't. I took classes here and there. I did take some guitar lessons. I had a good teacher when I was like early high school that would definitely, when I bring him, I don't even know, metal songs or something, he'd be like, that's cool, but why don't we learn this Jimi Hendrix song? Tell me the better things that at the time I was like, okay, I guess. But, looking back, I'm like,
that's very cool. He did that. I mean, he could have said, no, we need to practice this classical stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with classical music, but it kind of shuts you down if you want to play Hendrix or metal and you get to, play something else.
Although I did wish I learned a little more. Coming up in the punk rock kind of tradition, I was definitely like, I don't need to know. I'm just going to feel it and play what I play. Why would I need to learn that? That's going to ruin me. But I don't think any type of knowledge is bad.
Yeah, that's definitely the ethos in punk. It's no matter what anybody says, the answer is fuck you. We're doing it my way. That's kind of the spirit of punk, I guess. Man, most important things you've learned about yourself throughout your career experience and life in general?
I guess it's just to really trust yourself and trust what you're feeling and make what you want to hear, and try to do what you want to do, because I feel like that's what people respond to. And then even if people don't respond to it, you've done what you wanted. You've done you've tried to express how you're feeling. I feel like there's no point to make a record if you're trying to make a record to sell it or be a certain way. If it's any other way, the whole point is just to express yourself, and stay true to that. And I think that's what people dig, that's what people respond to, because a lot of chances are they're feeling the same way about things, or some people are.
No, I think that's so important. And plus, what? It's hard. And for me anyway, it's hard enough being yourself. I couldn't even begin to try to be someone else, or, I mean, it's difficult to just execute you.
Totally. That's the hardest, man. Yeah. I mean, and then I guess that's the life. And that's why I dig doing creative stuff, because it is a way to discover more, and I feel like in some selfish way, I want to, just be self-centered, but by doing that, you can explore different aspects of it, and try to get that vibe and actually get it out, which helps a lot of it. So it's therapeutic, I think, too.
No, it is. Even on this show, I always try to get people from, for example, death metal, that stuff. Yeah, that's not
Tampa has a bit of that.
Oh, that's not my thing at all. But I've interviewed a lot of people that play that, and everybody's so cool, and I just try to not shut down to it just because it's not my thing. That doesn't mean the people playing it aren't really cool, or I learned something from everybody I talk with. So
cool. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, just to keep learning and stay curious, and that's I feel like keeps you young, keeps your mind young, and that's what excites me. I love mystery, or not understanding something, and you're like, what's going on? I love when I see a band that I don't even know I can't understand what they're doing or where they're coming from, because that feeling of I don't get this. Oh my God, what is even happening here? I like that. I feel like that curiosity is good to always keep that too.
And you're pretty well read, it sounds like, also.
I read a lot, or definitely did, and I feel like lyrically I was kind of trying to be like, oh cool, I really want this early Dead Meadow especially to just have a lot of images, that kind of go along with the music that would kind of like steer your mind in certain directions, something that you would sit back and get stoned to and be kind of carried on some sort of
journey. Dude, it's funny? I feel like I'm stoned when I'm listening to Dead Meadow plenty of times. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I could get stoned and listen to this because I already feel like I'm stoned. Because it's just like, I don't know, man. It resonates. It just takes me out in a vibe somewhere, man. It's
that's what we really wanted to do because we're all like, like Steve, bass player, doesn't smoke weed or something, but I think we're all just fans of like, of a certain escapist nature to art, of being like taken on this, so that's what we really want to capture, something that's like takes you out and on a journey with us, and somewhere that can take you away from the mundane, at least for a little bit.
Best thing that ever happened to you?
Oh, I don't know. You're probably picking up the guitar, and finding that avenue, because I feel like I was a pretty shy kid, and that really allowed me to like express things that were inside and get it out this, So I'm sure I would have found a different creative avenue, but there's something so immediate about music and even the guitar in general that has really like, I think, kept me grounded and kept me going in this life.
Are you still shy, or do you
So I don't, not particularly.
Yeah. It's interesting because sometimes, a lot of people, men and women that I interview, they're still shy, and the guitar it's like what do you call it? Linus's blanket, it's a superpower that allows them to not be shy while they're playing or while they're on stage or performing.
In the case, it's like, oh man, like not really sure how to talk to anyone, or I'm still probably not the best about certain personal things, or kind of I don't know if closed or secretive is the way, but not necessarily super open on stuff. And I feel like that's because music kind of allows you to get these feelings out in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. Any hobbies outside of music, Jason?
I'm a big camper. I love camping. Especially moving out to California. I like backpacking and going out in the mountains all as much as I possibly can. I feel like it's kind of land that rejuvenates you and getting up there, and even like songwriting wise, it's just nature and getting out in there, and then reading. And I definitely I've gotten more into recording too, so that like recording gear and recording techniques is kind of something that definitely been picked up and interested in these days.
That's great. That's really cool. Well, dude, 2 more questions. Toughest decision you've ever had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Oh man, let's see. I guess, like we said, like getting off of heroin and trying changing that and leaving that behind was definitely difficult and good. I mean, when I finally made the decision to really to actually do it, it wasn't difficult to make it. But
execution's a bitch, man.
Yeah. Then I'm trying to think what else has been such a difficult decision. A lot of the things with Dead Meadow hasn't been. Our course has kind of been, I feel like, led by like lots of small decisions. Even though songwriting with Dead Meadow is like that too, where it's not like, we're going to write this kind of song or we're putting a record together. It's like, ooh, that's kind of cool when you do that. Like, oh wow, but then if we go here, that's pretty neat. Like, oh, like listen to this. This sounds cool. Or this pedal, oh, if the wah comes on here, that's cool. And then at the end, you kind of look at what you made, and it's kind of cool. And that's kind of the excitement of it. Like, oh wow, when we all chose these little things that came together, and this is really a cool piece of music now.
That's nice, man.
Or not,
Oh, you mentioned. Sorry about that. No. Go ahead. I apologize.
And I feel like that was like with the career of Dead Meadow too. It's been always like, and the fact that it's still going is never a thing of like, oh, we're just going to keep this going. It's always like, oh, wow, do you guys want to go to South Africa? Like we just got an offer, like to go to this Europe trip, like, or like, let's do the US. Oh, that's actually going to be lucrative. And we get to hang out with our friends and travel around RV. Like, okay, let's do it. Let's do this tour. It's going to be fun. It's going to help us, so it's not a set like plan of we're going to do this and this. It's like, as things come up, they still are interesting, and we still enjoy them, and they're still fun.
That's wonderful that it's all fresh and new, man. I was going to ask you mentioned your wah. I forgot to ask you, what do you use for your wah?
These days I have a Jeffrey Tees. I think it's like RMC 10 or something. I think maybe call it Jeffrey Tees. It's a great wah. I love it.
Tease, like
Teese.
Okay.
The company Jeffrey Tees. He makes these real RMC, real McCoy wahs.
Oh, real McCoys. Yeah. Is that? It's got Joe Walsh plays it or something like that.
Yeah, he has a whole bunch of different models. Models like the early Hendrix. This one's a little more like late period Hendrix, kind of like a Rainbow Bridge era Hendrix, which is kind of some of my favorite Jimi Hendrix is the real late stuff, right before he passed, when Billy Cox was in the band.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, a lot of people like his pedals, man. And hey, last question, and I appreciate your time. Biggest change. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change is deliberate, and how much is just a natural part of aging?
I think it's like I said. I don't know if I'm that great on huge deliberate changes in my life. I usually just kind of grow and follow the course as it's going. I'd like to think.
Well, dude, getting sober is deliberate. You didn't sort of fall into just getting off heroin.
That was deliberate. When I realized, I actually drove my band crazy because we were in the middle of a tour, and it was the only time I ever did. And I was like, no, I'm going home. I'm not doing this. I'm going. And to them, they were like super bummed because, of course, they'd heard me say I was getting clean a million times. Yeah. So they were really, he's just quitting a tour to go do drugs. So I don't think they really, the only time I did actually quit a tour was because I was really done. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not kicking on the road. I'm just going, I'm really done. So I got to get my shit together. So, in the end it worked out, but I know they were super bummed.
What was, if you don't mind me asking, and if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to answer, what was the trigger? Like, what was like the bottom for you for that?
No, it wasn't like you're going to die. I think it was just turning like 30 or so and then and being like, man, this is just going to go on and on. This is going to be life. I'm just going to be always running around and doing this. And like, it's not going to change. And it's just going to pass by. And you're not going to grow. I'm still going to be doing the same shit. I think I'd seen older people that hadn't gotten their shit together and were really like lifers in it. And that was what scared me more. I was just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be this way for the rest of my life,
Yeah. You saw somebody else that said, man, that dude is I'm going to be that dude.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. People I love and people I still love, kind of gotten together. But I was like, yeah, it just changed. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with the running around because it's like, it starts out one way, but it's actually a ton of work, that you're putting into not coming, into staying high and whatnot. So I definitely had to work real hard and do all sorts of crazy stuff, and touring, was getting packages sent around, all sorts of craziness. And it was just such a blessing when I finally got the methadone clinic to just like rest from all that, just be like, okay, let me just get things together. Let me get back to like reading and writing and doing what I really love, and there's a cool thing too with coming off heroin where things hit you so hard. That's actually kind of cool. Like after you stop and you're not that sick, like you'll hear a song that you love and it'll just make you cry, or even just looking at trees and things like as your body starts to turn back on that I kind of did because as it comes back, you just feel things so much and you're like, oh yeah, this is why, of course that kind of fades and then you're back with day to day that probably drove you to it in the first place. You have to how to find how to deal with that. But I think, like I said, with camping and nature, and that's always been like the biggest inspiration for me. I don't think drugs were ever really an inspiration for Dead Meadow. It was just, it was more just like, how can we create these moods that sometimes are akin to like psychedelic experiences or something, That's really cool, man. I'm so happy for you that you got off that shit, man. It's yeah, it's years now, so it's definitely in the history. But yeah, it's been how long? Oh, sorry, broke up. It's been how long? It's been over 10 years since I've been. That's great, man. But probably been out of it for like 7 years, and good for you. Yeah, like I'm not a sober. I still probably tend to drink too much from time to time and whatever else. But like, it's a whole entirely different thing. It's not it's I think getting sober is different. I've had so many people talk about getting sober on the show, and what happened was I had so many comments. Like people would hit me up on Instagram and say, hey man, I really appreciate you listening to that. You putting that interview out. I'm really struggling right now. Do you have any other ones? And I kept getting asked that. So I just, we put the audio of these on YouTube, and I finally just made a getting sober playlist. Yeah. Because there's so many people that are, hurting. And then I interviewed a woman named Grace Askew, and she was like, I don't know, she was like placed fourth in, some television. She's a guitar player, an Americana guitar player, and a really good guitar player actually. And so she was on the show and I'm talking to her. She goes, you helped get me sober. I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, I was hitting, I had to stop and I didn't know what to do. And I just looked up musicians getting sober or something like that on YouTube, and 2 of your shows came up, and I listened to it and I thought, okay, this is possible. And I was friggin' blown away. I was so happy that, somehow I can, be a little facilitator of something that
cool for somebody. It was really cool. That's why I get all these requests. That's why I made the list. So, but I think it's different for everybody.
It's different for everyone. Everyone finds their own way and does, and I never presume to know what's best for anyone, or to judge anyone. And same when I've had people come up to me with certain songs, where they have been like, oh man, this song really helped me through or get sober. Like your music really helped me through a really difficult time, and then when we were in Russia recently, which was really cool playing there, but in this interview that someone did actually say, like I had a friend that was going to kill himself, and then for some reason like this Dead Meadow song played, and that's what like changed his mind, and it really was like you heard that, it kind of made me cry a bit,
Yeah, that's powerful shit.
Like that, when you're really like, and that's why you do it. You try to like put out whatever little bit of wisdom I may have learned in this world. That's why you kind of want to like try to convey that and try to put that out and see if, because that's what but also in the hope that, you can share that with someone else, which is what music is about. And I feel like that's probably why we still tour, because we all like the immediacy of just playing in front of people and getting the energy back from them. And it's just, that kind of in the moment thing that can happen. So I don't know. It's magical.
That's really cool, man. I'm real happy for you. Everything's running on all 8 cylinders, and man, I can't thank you enough for your time. And I want to just tell people, and also thank you again for all the great music you've put out. I've really, really, really enjoyed listening.
Oh man, I appreciate it. It's great to go on the show. It's great to go on the show, man. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, brother. I want to tell people just where to get turned on to you and just talk a little bit more about what you got coming up. So it's Jason Simon. The band is Dead Meadow, and they're on Instagram and Facebook at Dead Meadow. The last album is called The Nothing They Need. Great record. You want to start somewhere, check out The Light, which is the 7th song. Real great track. Nice and long, just perfect. Old Mexico is Jason's side project, as well as Old Testament, and they're going to be doing a tour of the East Coast starting mid-May through mid-June. So everybody in the, I guess,
Dead Meadow is doing the tour.
Yeah, Dead Meadow will be doing the tour. So that'll be, I guess, everybody in like Jersey, Washington, Maryland, or Carolinas, New Orleans area.
Yeah, coming up across the country through Texas and up the East Coast, and then across the North, Chicago, Toronto, Denver, all that stuff.
Awesome. Where are those tour dates posted?
They're not listed yet. They'll be up shortly. We're still finalizing a few things, and then they'll be posted
on deadmeadow.com or
deadmeadow.com, Instagram, Facebook, and so all the
usual places. And man, anything else that you'd want to talk about that you got coming up?
The last record I did was called Old Mexico, which is a pretty cool one. Definitely real different than Dead Meadow. Kind of jazzy, a lot of saxophone. And I'm pretty proud of it. There's a couple songwriters, and we each wrote a few songs, but it was an attempt. My friend Trans Van Santos and this other guy, Dave Mahaly, who's like a 65-year-old jazz drummer. We really wanted to. It's not really a jazz record per se, but we wanted to approach it in a jazz sense of being like, let's just have a session and get cool players together. We didn't play these songs before, do like 2 or 3 takes. Like, this is the song, 2 or 3 takes. Let's see if we can keep that kind of freshness and spontaneity. And it ended up turning out to be a really cool record. I think I like to listen to it a lot because it was different than Dead Meadow, which is really deliberate and a lot of thought is put in it. It's like Steve and I slowly build these things up. This was like, okay, let's just see what happens, and comes out, and that's it. And so
very awesome.
Old Mexico.
I'm going to check it out. That's on my queue. I got Old Mexico and Old Testament, and then I also want to check out your. I didn't get a chance to listen to Familiar Haunts, which is your last solo record, I think. So they're on my short to-do list. Man, thank you for everything. I really appreciate it. Hang on one second. I'll wrap up with you. Yeah, man, anytime. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Jason Simon. He's just at South by Southwest now. He's getting ready to head out. And thanks again, Jason. I appreciate everything. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.